I still remember the first time Team Toolkit had a failure cake. It was early in our life as a team. There were just 5 of us, and we'd put in a request for some funding, then we didn't get selected. Later that day, one of our team members put in an order for the custom cake you see here in this picture. We didn't know it at the time, but this was the start of something amazing. As we ate that cake, we discussed our experience, our failure, and we started plotting our next steps. We turned the failure into a celebration of the attempt, and we even had some cake left over, so we took it into the hallway and we shared it with random people walking past. And we told them the story too. This came to be known as a failure cake, and it was the first of many. Now, I have to admit, I don't remember exactly which failure led to this cake, but I do remember it was delicious. So, failure cakes perform several important functions. First, they're delicious. And so they take the sting out of failure, at least a little bit. In more formal terms, they destigmatize failure, and they let us reframe it as a learning experience. They also build community because we come together over these delicious, delicious cakes. And as we eat, we reflect and discuss, and we learn together. And because the cake is almost always bigger than the team can eat, we go public. We share it with the people around us, and we let them know who we are and what we're trying to do. And we start making plans for our next attempt, our next experiment. Because we know that even if our next try doesn't turn out the way we want, at least we'll get some cake out of it. We eventually took our failure cakes on the road. We set up this huge sheet cake in the cafeteria, and we offered free slices to anyone who would share a failure story with us. We filled up this whiteboard with some amazing failure stories. Some of them were funny, some were poignant, and a lot of them were stories people hadn't really shared before. And wow, when you put these stories together, when you share them in public and eat cake, something magic happens. It really changes the conversation around failure. Now, speaking of changing the conversation, we're all working remotely right now. We can't sit around the table and share a cake like we used to. That's a drag. But it's also an opportunity to get creative. So when I had a recent failure, my team sent me these mini cupcakes in the mail. And even though I had to eat them all myself, no, I shared them with my family, but even though the team wasn't together, these cupcakes still did everything a failure cake is supposed to do. Take the sting out, build that connection, and most importantly, give a boost of encouragement to keep going. The point of all this is that failure cakes are a great way to collectively respond to situations that don't turn out the way you'd hoped. So I do hope you succeed at the things you set out to do. And because failures happen, I hope all your failures are delicious.